guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be doing a review on Pardo translucent art clay. Now this review was requested a while ago, so I finally gotten around to getting it done. And so I'm going to start talking about the great things about Pardo first, and then I'll work into the things that you might find a problem with. So first thing is the fact that it comes in this great packaging. And you even have this little thing at the top where you can hang your piece from, so you could just hang it on a hook. And also you can just keep it stored in this package. So you want to keep this, you don't have to put it in any plastic bags or anything like that. And then it comes with this thing around it, and you want to keep this as well because this has all the instructions on how long you bake it for and at what temperature, so make sure you keep that as well. And this is how it comes. So I've already been using this one, so it was actually about that long. So it's quite a nice large block. And the first thing that is great about Pardo is the fact that if you get a fresh block, it's really easy to use. It has this nice elastic texture to it, just like Kato if it's really fresh. And so that's really nice. Now I'll talk about what happens if the block is old later on, but if you get a fresh block, it's really nice and easy to use. Now the thing that most people are going to love about Pardo the most is the fact that it is so translucent. So I've just got this piece, and this was rolled through on the thinner setting of my pasta machine. And here's just a piece of paper I have, and you can see how translucent it is. As far as I know, none of the other brands are this translucent. I've done a comparison between all the brands, and I have an article on that. I'll include a link to that article in the description below. But as far as I have tested, this is the most translucent clay I can find. It's really translucent. So that's a great thing about it. Another great thing is that it's really, really strong. Just like most of the other brands like Premo and Kato. And Fimo as well. That one's also quite strong. So I'm bending it here, and I'm not having any problems with it. So it's nice and strong. And here's a thicker piece. Now the thicker pieces are also really nice and strong. You're not really supposed to do this with it. It's strong, but you're not supposed to be playing with it the whole time. So if you did this for long enough, it would break. But you can see it's quite strong. Now, another thing that I found is the fact that relative to other translucent brands, Pardo has very little tint to it. So Premo translucent has quite a yellow tint to it, and Premo white translucent has this really weird blue tint to it. And Kato also has a really yellow tint to it, and so that can mess with your beads a bit. If you are using a cool color palette, the yellow tint can mess up with your beads, and if you're using a warm color palette, the weird blue tint that the Premo white translucent has can mess with your color palette. So the fact that the Pardo for the most part doesn't have much of a tint to it is really good because it won't affect the colors in your bead. Now, the best thing that I have found about it, and this can be seen as a bad thing or a good thing, is the fact that it has this really weird mooning effect. And now, most people will see that as a problem, and I can see why it would be seen as a problem. I don't like it if I'm trying to use the translucent and get it completely clear, like over here. But this is a really great thing if you're trying to make faux stones. So I'll bring over some faux stones to show you how cool its effect is. And these are just some faux rose quartz and faux amber that I've been doing. I'll just hold this against my hand. You can see that has a really cool look to it, and it just helps make it look more realistic. So personally, I like the fact that it does that, but if you didn't want that to happen, you might want to consider using the Pardo on the thinner settings. I found that the thinner the Pardo is, the less likely it is to have that weird mooning effect. And another thing to avoid it is that you need to be careful when you condition it, because any air bubbles will cause massive problems with this clay, and also if you can avoid using water with the clay, that is best, because the water can also cause the mooning. But really, I think the mooning is a great thing if you're making faux stones, and that is personally what I like to use Pardo for. The other brands will do just fine for the other effects. Now, on the note of this mooning effect, that is the first con, of course, or the problem. And there are a few other problems. The first one that you're probably going to encounter is the fact that your block can be old. So this is a nice fresh block, and you see how it moves around and stuff. Your old block will be as hard as a brick. You will not be able to move it, and when you chop it, so I'll chop a piece off of here and show you how nice and easy it is to chop it. So you can see it's nice and flexible and easy to use, and because it's unconditioned, it's going to crack like that, but it's still very easy to use. Your hard block, you're not going to be able to do that. When you cut it, it's probably going to crumble. Now, there are things that you can do to fix up your old Pardo. The best thing to do is to pop it in a plastic bag, pop the Pardo in a plastic bag, take a mallet and whack it as much as you can. That will help warm it up, and then after that, chop it into really thin pieces and then run those through the thinnest setting in your pasta machine, and then put them together and run it through again, and that I find helps. It's going to take a while for it to be conditioned, but it will eventually be conditioned. But unfortunately, it's going to take quite a while, and it's going to be quite a bit of hard work. Now, another problem is the fact that Pardo goes hard really quickly compared to the other brands. I found that it goes hard within 6 months or so. And so it can be a little hard to get hold of fresh. Happy Things has fresh Pardo, and that's actually where I bought mine from. So I'll include a link to their website, as I found that their Pardo arrives nice and fresh. So be sure to buy from them. Their Pardo's good. And so when you do get your Pardo, make sure that you use it within the first 6 months, otherwise you might find that it goes a little bit hard. Another problem that you're going to find is that it's relatively expensive compared to other brands of polymer clay like Premo. It's going to be around $4 to $6 depending where you buy it from. So you're going to have to weigh up the pros and cons of that. Personally, I think it's well worth the price to be able to get such translucent beads. I wouldn't be able to do this with any other brand, so it's well worth the price for me. But depending on what you like to do, you're going to have to decide that for yourself. Another problem is that it's hard to find compared to other brands as well. Premo, you can just get that down at your local craft store. Pardo, you're most likely going to have to buy online. If you're lucky, you can find it in a local craft store, but most likely you're going to have to buy it online, and so it can be a little bit difficult to find. But really, again, if you know where to buy it, Happy Things is the best place I found, then it's perfectly fine. So that's basically my review of Pardo. Now, another interesting note, which is neither a problem or a good thing, is the fact that it has this weird, when it bakes, it has this weird wax along the outside of it, and don't worry about it, you can just sand that off. But I just thought that I'd mention it, because if you've got surface effects it might cause problems, but it sands off very easily. But I just thought I'd mention that, because if it comes out the oven looking like this, don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong. It just happens to do that. So just sand it off and it should be fine. So here's what it looks like when it's sanded, and here's what it looks like when it's varnished. So anyway, don't worry if it looks like that, that's just what it typically does. So that was my review of Pardo translucent art clay, and so I do hope that that was helpful to you. I do recommend buying this clay. It's got a big thumbs up from me. It's one of my favourite, it is my favourite translucent clay, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do with the faux stones without it. So I highly recommend it. So if you do end up going and buying Pardo, please let me know. And if you've made anything with Pardo, please post the pictures. If you're watching this on my website, jessamatutorials.com, I have a form down there where you can send in pictures of what you've done using this clay, and I look forward to seeing all your ideas because this clay is very versatile and you can do lots of things with it. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I will have a link to my website, jessamaTutorials.com, where you can send in pictures, and I also have articles on there and all sorts of other things that I'm sure you guys will love. And as always, I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.